Winning at sports betting isn't some secret mystery, but you wouldn't know that scrolling TikTok. Every other guy's flexing his max unit banger, swearing he's retiring off a 12-leg heater. But bro, you just funded DraftKings' new rooftop pool. And for a hot minute, I was that clown. I bought the course, followed their picks, and look at where that's landed me. Yeah, with a bankroll that's down $3,000. So I muted all that BS, went back to square one, learned the math, and built an actual strategy that lets me cash slips like this day after day. Lucky for you, you don't have to relearn the hard way, because today I'm handing you the step-by-step system that's gotten me $10,000 richer on a silver platter. But wait, I still see that a lot of you aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stop funding the bookies' kids' tuition so they can get a degree in romance literature, yes, that's where your money's going. If you keep betting like a Deegan, then subscribe to this channel. But now let's start with step one. Because have you ever gotten that gut feeling right before a game? Like, oh yeah, this one's a lock. Yeah. That usually means you're already cooked. See, most people think betting is about picking winners, but it's not. Think about it like showing up to a Best Buy on Black Friday. You stroll into the store at 10 a.m. like an amateur, but everyone else camped out overnight like a bunch of tryhards and cleaned the place out. Now all that's left is a toaster no one wanted and a waffle maker with no plug. That's what it's like betting last minute based on your ball knowledge. The market's been open for days and the pros have already taken the value bets, so you really only have two options. Either hit mispriced lines early, before the sharps and syndicates clean them up, or you catch bad numbers late, when breaking news or the public pushes the line too far, and a slow book hasn't adjusted yet. Now if those don't work for you, there's a third option. You can build a legit model that gives you your own edge, which is what this video is all about. And if you want to see how I started, I put together a free step-by-step blueprint showing how I made my first $1,000 in sports betting. It's the same system you can steal to spot sharp bets on your own. So, if you're tired of throwing your bankroll down the toilet, hit the link in the description. Or, if you're watching on TV right now, scan this QR code right here. Simple as that. But moving on to step two, and before we can talk about betting strategy, you've got to understand how the bookies actually make their money. Because honestly, they're not just hoping you lose, they've rigged the entire system to give themselves an unfair advantage. Think of how casinos play roulette. You've got red and black, which feels like 50-50, right? But then there's that little green zero that a lot of people overlook. Yeah, that's the house edge. And it's the same thing in sports betting, except instead of a green zero, it's called the VIG. So check this out. Let's say two teams are evenly matched. A fair line would be plus 100 on both sides, but the book sets it at negative 110. Now, if $110 comes in on both teams, the sports books pay $100 to the winner and keep $10 for themselves. That's how they print money regardless of the result. So if you're trying to win long term, you're not just competing against other bettors. You've also got to beat the VIG, which is why 97% of sports bettors lose money. But how do you beat the books in their own game? Well, that's where step 3 comes in. Because as we've already established, it's not about picking winners, it's about finding your edge. But let's be real, we don't want to be sitting there like a nerd, manually scrolling through 12 different sports books, squinting at lines like we're decoding the Matrix. I used to do that and it sucked. Lucky for us, there are tools that automate the whole thing. These tools can scan all the books, compare the odds side by side, and flag when one sportsbook slips up and offers a good price. And there are a bunch of options out there, and they all basically do the same thing, so use whichever one you like. Personally, I use OddsJam, and it's like having a price shopping bot on steroids. It's how I keep landing bets like this one, where I literally tripled my money. But you can't just fire up OddsJam, blindly copy every plus EV play, and expect to print money. That's how you end up betting Lithuanian ping pong at 3 a.m. and wondering why your bankroll's bleeding. The tool shows you potential value, but of course, you still need to apply common sense. For starters, make sure at least 5 major books are offering lines on the game. If only 2 or 3 books are posting odds, there's a good chance the market isn't sharp yet, and that edge might be fake. Same goes for super niche leagues and weird markets. Stuff like alternate spreads, obscure player props, or exact score bets. They can look like plus EV, but not many people are betting on it. So it doesn't take much money to move the lines. All it takes is for one sharp to dump a large amount of money on the game, and now you're no longer plus EV. Now when you get to step 4, here's what most people slip up. Because even with all the right tools, there's one trap that still wrecks bettors over and over again. I still remember this game on the final day of the 2016 Premier League season. Newcastle versus Spurs. Newcastle were already relegated. They were at the bottom of the table, and everyone was saying the same thing. Newcastle have nothing to play for. They won't show up. Meanwhile, Spurs were trying to lock in second place and people were calling it free money. Like, how could they lose to a team that's already down? But I'm a Newcastle fan, so when we smashed them 5-1, even after going down to 10 men, I was losing it. My friend who supports Spurs, he wasn't laughing, but that's the problem with narratives. They sound good, but they don't hold value. Must-win game is not real analysis, it's just noise. And the books are already a step ahead, because that story you're betting on is already priced in. So here's a pro tip. If you want to make a profit, just do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And betting against the narrative is one of those things. Now, if you want to take it one step further, you've got to track your bets. That way, you can't lie to yourself with a couple of hot streaks. So if you want to see how other people are tracking their results with OddsJam, I've got a private community you can join for free when you sign up with my link. Inside, you'll find more than 81 bettors sharing trackers, comparing results, and keeping each other on their A game. In fact, one of our members proudly shared their September results, and who knows, that could be you too. So, check out the link in the description if you want to join. And if you're watching on TV, just scan the QR code right here. But moving on to step 5, and I want to be transparent with you guys. You will tilt, you'll hit a cold streak, you'll watch a game flip on a last-second turnover, and you'll question your system. But that's where 99% of bettors will start tweaking like a degenerate. So, let me tell you a story. I've known bettors who've been on a 20-bet losing streak. Now, most people would have rage bet the next game or gone full conservative mode. But he didn't flinch. He knew that his edge was proven. He tracked his bets, knew his ROI, and trusted the long game. 30 bets later, he was up over 17 units. That's the difference between gambling and betting like a pro. So if you want the same results, here are 3 simple ways to stay profitable. 1. Avoid tilt at all costs. Go touch some grass when you feel yourself getting emotional. 2. Track every single bet. A simple Google Sheet will do. Or, if you don't want to do it alone, go and join our community. Links in the description, by the way. 3. Run a feedback loop. See what worked, what didn't, and what your model missed. Then iterate fast. Trust me, system matters more than outcome. So if your edge is real, short-term losses are irrelevant. All you gotta do is stick to the plan. But there's still one big problem that can knock you out before you ever cash in. And that's what step 6 is all about. So, back at UFC 217, Joanna was the dominant strawweight champ. Undefeated, crazy striking, and the line had her as a massive favorite against Rose. Everyone thought it was free money. And so did I, so I went full send. I dropped my entire bankroll on this fight like a dude trying to impress his crush at Dave & Buster's. But in the very first round, Rose drops Joanna with a left hook, finishes her on the ground, and the arena goes wild. Not me though, because my bankroll was as dehydrated as McGregor trying to make featherweight. But that night showed me that confidence doesn't protect you. Bankroll management does. Which is why some sharp bettors use the Kelly criterion to calculate their unit size. It's supposed to tell you how much to bet based on your edge. But full Kelly is aggressive, and unless you're an actual robot, you're probably overestimating your edge. That's why most people use quarter Kelly. But if you ask me, just stick to the golden range of 1 to 2% per bet. The Kelly criterion is for try-hard spreadsheet warriors who love theory more than profit anyway. So how does this all look when you actually put it together? Well, I decided to test it with a 7-day OddsJam challenge to see what kind of results the system could really deliver. And here's what I got. We staked a total of $3,800 and beat the CLV 83% of the time. We made a total profit of $587 with a profit margin of 15.44% per wager. And here are some of the other stats on screen if you're interested. I know $587 isn't life-changing money. I'm far from retiring on a beach or flexing Lambos, but that's not the point. What matters is how the profit was made. It was disciplined plus EV betting, following the rules and trusting the math. And to me, that's the real prize. Because if I can do this in just 7 days, imagine stacking it over weeks, months, or even years. And I didn't stop after 7 days. I kept using the tool and following the system. In fact, the same night the challenge ended, I placed another bet that lost and dropped me $100. After that came a small win, then a rough 3-day losing streak. I know, that's variance, it happens, even with good bets. But then on August 31st, I had a massive bounce back day with $900 in profit. So for the entire month, I racked up a $1,202 profit. Not bad at all, and proof that the system works long term, not just for one lucky week. But if you want the strategies and my personal guidance inside the Betting Lab community, again, the link's down in the description. That way, you don't have to figure it out on your own. You can shortcut straight to the strategies that actually work. But I'll continue documenting this journey, so subscribe to the channel if you want to see more updates. Oh, and speaking of updates, I just dropped a full breakdown showing the exact odds jam system I used to scale from 0 to 10 grand. So, before you click away, be sure to check out that video next. I'll pop it up on screen right now.